Grayson's a good kid, but he's 5, so he's irritating. You ever try to speed them up when they're not ready to go quickly? You ever notice they have their own pace? And their pace slows down when yours quickens. The faster you want to go, the more games they want to play now. Look at a dead bee, yeah? You want to join them? You ever been so mad at your kid you want to punch your spouse in the face? Boom! What was that for? Well, I know it's wrong to hit him. CPS ain't going to take you away. Although, wouldn't that be a burden? We're taking your spouse. Ooh, punish me. Bring him back after Easter. We gave up sex for Lent anyway. We don't care. I'll see you in May, baby girl, all right? Now, the funny part of that is you've been married a while. You don't give up sex for Lent. It's always Lent. Hey everybody, welcome back to the program, Mark Lundholm Show. I am really excited about today's episode. It is called Proud Parenting. I am a really good dad. I don't have a problem saying that to you, even if you don't know me. I'm not a great dad. I can tell you that today's episode is full of information, personal experiences, things that are hard to grasp at the time. If you're a parent, you know how case by case it is learning. It's literally day by day and situation to situation, and nobody ever gets it perfect. What I want to is for kids to be able to watch this. So the language is PG, which is a relative term in our house. I'll go into a few stories that are personal about that particular issue. What level of language do we use with the child as they grow up? Does the language grow up with them? My personal experience is that I have a son, Grayson. He's a teenager. When he was a little boy, we would give him permission to curse, but only at a certain level for a 4, 5, 6-year-old. He could say, son of a business major. He could say, shut the front door, Dad. He could say, cheese and rice. He didn't offend any Christians. It sounded a little bit like that guy's name, but it wasn't really that guy's name. He could have been ordering a burrito. Who knows? We used to get really clever or careful or both with the language we used around him. Every once in a while, I would say, for crying out loud. Oh, man. Golly gee willikers, gosh darn, son of a biscuit eater. Thereby, instead of creating some kind of moment, it was an expression of passion or anger or surprise or confusion. All those things that kids go through on a daily basis, I'm pretty sure. My ex-wife, the plaintiff, Julee Lundholm, she'll be on the show today, and she can give you the perspective of a mom, which I could never supply. Quick story. When Grayson was born, we were really proud that we had, equal parts in that. At the time, I thought they were equal parts. And she said to me, we did good, huh? And I said, you made a great kid. She goes, no, you made him. I cooked him. And I realized right there the level of investment that I had in creating a child to come into this world was minimal compared to the investment on the level of the mother. The joke in the show is, I've always thought that Mother's Day should be celebrated as, 9 months after Father's Night. The investment that Dad had in the whole situation was brief. Not just me, most dads. Compared to the investment Mom had, she spent months, more than 9 months, making sure that it was completed, perfected. Her role in this, way more celebratory. I think Mother's Day should be maybe like Mother's Month, and Dad can have like 8 minutes. Now, it's no secret that I had a dysfunctional upbringing, and that continued long into the adolescence, the early 20s. What I didn't want to do is recreate the dysfunction in the family. I wanted to go from dysfunctional to this functional family. I didn't get it on my first 2 tries, I got to tell you. Personally, I have 3 kids from 3 different women. I used to do a lot of touring when I was early in comedy. One-nighters sometimes meant, that. So what I'll tell you is that I have a daughter, Courtney. I have a son, Jesse. I have a son, Grayson. Really, Grayson is the only one I've been allowed to raise. And when I say allowed, here's what I mean. I think they're on loan to us from the universe. I think the universe gives us a child to bring up the best we can as an investment the universe made in us as parents. That's why Julie and I, when we got divorced, there are no ex-kids when you split up. There are no step-kids when you hook up. They're your kids. If you're still using the word ex or step in a relationship with somebody, it's worth taking a look at. I'm a big believer, shortcut, what you give energy to will continue. If I give energy to the split instead of the mend, that's where I'm going to go. I'm on the split side instead of the mending the fences side. And Julie and I are pretty good parents, but gosh darn it, we've had some good examples. Quick story. When I was brand new to recovery, I had a lot of questions about parenting. When I was still new, but farther along the process, about 13 or 14 years sober, we had a kid. Julie and I had a kid. I called my sponsor in a panic. It was keeping me up at night. I said, "Hey, Steve, I am possessed by the problem where I'm going to screw up my kid. I don't want to screw up my kid. I'm scared to death." He goes, "Oh, yeah, well, you'll screw them up. That's what we do. We screw up our kids. We screw them up. You just try not to do it today, and when you do it, you try not to do it all at once. Don't screw them up all at once. Gotta go." Hung up the phone. I was, huh? What I didn't know is that that's a fact. We screw up our kids. There's a rub the shine off of them kind of thing we do. Just from being a kid and a parent and a dad and a mom and a child, that's the nature of that relationship from time to time, is it's abrasive. They say that familiarity breeds contempt. Well, the more time I spend with the kid, the more he has a chance to grate on me, and I'm sure it's vice versa. In the early 90s, I did a lot more touring of jails, rehabs, prisons, shelters, detoxes, halfway houses, Salvation Armies. I didn't do as much recorded work back then. I didn't do as many nice theaters or comedy clubs. It was all nitty-gritty. It was places where no one wanted to be there. Not the correctional officers, not the counselors, not the supervisors. There were times where it seemed like I'm the only one that wants to be here doing this right now. Big gymnasium. State of Ohio, the Ohio Reformatory for Women. I have about 800 females on one side of the gym. All the bleachers are filled on that one side. I'm standing center court. And I said to a bunch of people there, some of the COs were males, but mostly females in the whole room. So I'm very much outnumbered, indoor plumbing, outdoor plumbing wise, you know what I mean? So I said, where's my female in here who's got a lot of kids? In a prison this big, there's a woman in here with a whole bunch of kids. And they start laughing because it's kind of a we know kind of thing. And it's a language of being inmates where everybody in there knows a lot about everything except health, except consistent, except normal, except lawful, except citizenship. We have a lot of knowledge that we get locked up for, right? And I'm an ex-felon, so I get to say to them, as a brother to a bunch of sisters, where's my girl who's got a lot of kids? Who's got a lot of kids? One woman says, right here. And they all kind of looked at her. They knew before I knew. She had 8 children from 5 different fathers. And we all laughed about that. For normal people, I don't know that they find the humor in that, but all the rest of the dysfunctional people got it. Like, that's what we do. She had 8 children from 5 different fathers. And the joke I said right there was, you sure there's only 5 dads? So here are the 2 questions I asked the young lady. I said, so do you love all the kids? And she goes, hell yeah. It was just an immediate answer. No thought, no, just boom, yeah, because it's the truth. Usually if we know the truth, we can answer the question right away, Second question I asked her, I said, did you love all the dads? And she said, oh, no, hell no. And everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. And while she thought about those dads, who they were, which one went with which kids, I got to ask her, I got to say, so the message you're sending us is you can love how things are without loving how we got to where we are. What you get, what you end up with, the product of your behavior, those kids. We can love the product of our behavior without really loving the behavior that got us to the product or the place, right? And the place went, oh, and I feel really good about being able to do that with a whole group of people because I can manipulate language, and manipulating language sometimes changes your mind. Early on, when Grayson was a little guy, 5, 6, 7 years old, we tried to remind him that there are phrases that are about ownership of somebody's personality or behavior, right? I would say to him, that's none of your business. That's not your business. But Dad, that kid, he did, that's not your business. You got to let it go, kid. That's not your business. So we would say that to him, we would say things like, what's your part in that? What's your part in that? What my part is really all I have the capacity to change or manipulate or shift or let go of. Somebody cut you off in traffic. What's my part? Well, I got scared and I reacted and I gave him the fear finger instead of saying, whew, man, that could have been way worse. There's a lot of adulthood that you can pass on to the children without them being adults. I don't want to make them grow up too fast, but I want to teach them early that they have a lot of power. So we would constantly tell Grayson things like, suit up and show up, all right? And I would say to him, what's our job? And he would say, to honor Mom all day long. I'd say, what's our joy? Telling the truth and honoring our mother. And that's what he would say. I wanted to instill in him the power of Mom. Very, very, very early. The power of Mom, His dad's a goof. His mom's a goddess. And that's not being humble. I think that's the proper role, I'm the goof, I'm the guy, I'm the dad, but she's the goddess. And we still work really hard at being a team to raise a kid who he signed up for a team. He didn't sign up for individual scholarship or greatness or a solo act. He signed up for a family. So we would say things like, that's not your business. We honor our mom. Our job is to honor Mom all day long. And he wanted to know that he had allies. I used to do this annual event in Key West, Florida. It was actually in Plantation Key. If you're from Florida, let's be specific about our neighborhood. But it was the way South Florida area, and it was called Music Fest. It was a 12-step related event, but it was a 3-day party of music and comedy and acting and family and recovery and celebration of new life, new distance, new balance, new path, right? Music Fest. And Dawn, God bless Dawn, who started the whole thing and the help she had and the partner she was. And so I would host the Music Fest for 3 days as Mark Lundholm, the comedian, MC. And I would do some comedy on one of the nights. And we had great bands. We had bands that were like well known and yet not to everybody. We had the Chillbillies. We had Two Dog Night. We had some people that were super famous and really cool to work with. And it was a big deal, this Music Fest. And I took Grayson and Julie. When he was about 5 years old, we had driven from the Miami airport, the way you do to go south to the Keys, right? So we're at Shell World. It's really fun driving from the Keys back to Miami, back to wherever, back. There's one highway. You see everything on the way down that you do on the way up. And on the way up, you see everything you see on the way down. There's only 2 places to look, there and there. That's it. So everything you see going down, you see coming up. Shell World was one of those places. So we pulled into Shell World, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's a world of shells. So I'm in the parking lot, and I'm trying to find a space to park. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's this RV driven by this guy who he's probably lived in the RV most of his life, and just he's almost glued to the wheel, and he's looking straight ahead, and he just cut me off, ran right in front of me. And here's the science and the beauty and the art and the angelic of what a kid is. I said, ah! And I start cursing. None of the ones we gave to him. These are all Mark Lundholm adult curse words, and I got no filter. I was scared, surprised, and I let it go right out the windshield. And Grayson goes, Dad, what's wrong? I said, the guy cut me off in the RV. Cut me off. He goes, did he do it on purpose? And I felt like Satan's left testicle. I thought, you can't get any lower than this right now. What a horrible person. Did he do it on purpose, Dad? And I felt like an idiot in front of my own kid. He didn't do it on purpose. Nobody does. That's why they call it an accident. The guy didn't hit me. He just cut me off. But I said, oh, man. No, buddy, he didn't. Thanks for reminding me. And Julie's laughing because I got a lesson right in the throat. Julie, she's sitting in the passenger side of the car. Because it was my turn to learn, right? And as humbling as that is, it was memorable because we laughed really hard. And as I'm looking at her and I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, I'm the luckiest guy on earth to be reminded that we're doing a good job of raising a kid who can remind his parents, hey, isn't this what you told me? Right? First thought wrong is, why did I ever have sex with your mother? Why do I need a reminder in the back seat, Junior Jesus, baby Buddha? Quit telling me what to do. It's my job to tell you what to do. I said, that is funny. All of a sudden, I look over on the stairway there, going up to Show World. There's a woman, 400 plus pounds. No exaggerate. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. Big. And I look and big. And I'm seeing the caboose of what's moving up the stairs, and I'm thinking, that's a big person. Julie goes, what? Because all I did was go, oh. Julie goes, what? And I go, Julie goes, oh. From the back, we hear, Dad, that's not your business. I am extremely lucky and fortunate to have my ex-wife, the mother of my son, Grayson, Julee Lundholm. I'm proud that we are parents of that kid. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
You look good. Yeah, you look good. What are you doing at home this morning? The COVID-19 area that we're recording in. That's the period we're in. How you doing at home?
I'm good at home. I'm really good at home.
You're
this
working
morning
today?
I'm working. Had a conference call this morning. Just a little bit of work. That's it.
Yeah. It was this morning busier than usual?
This morning was relatively busy with work. Yeah, starting to pick back up.
All right. Do you miss your boy?
I do miss my boy. I miss my boy every day he's not here. Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
So for some background, my gut tells me to let you drive here for a minute. For background for people who don't know either one of us, what's the story here?
Story? In like a general overview sense?
Yeah. Just get them caught up to why you and I are talking on separate screens. I mean, it's the Corona thing, but where we're at and what we're doing together and what we're not doing together, and what's the overview? Yeah, that's a good word.
Let's see. The overview is we were married and now we're not. And as a result of being married, we have a really, really cool kid. And that always makes me cry.
It's okay.
And now that kid has 2 homes and we co-parent really, really well together. I think there isn't a whole lot of stuff that we don't do together anymore. There's some stuff we don't do together, but living is one of those things, right? And so as a result, or a consequence of that, we navigate the waters of co-parenting to the best of our ability with that kid.
Yeah, and one of the best times of my life was being married to you. I loved being married to you. As long as we were married, I was happy to be a father and a husband, and it was two things I had never been before in any relationship. I was married before. I have two other children from two other mothers, but I was never as invested as with you and with Grayson. And I remember saying to you, "What's wrong?" one day, and you said to me, I'm just tired of being a single mom who's married, you know,
Yeah.
because of the job. I mean, how much did that take its toll, that distance, that on you personally?
It took a huge toll. I think it took a bigger toll with a kid than it took without a kid, right? Um, but that job that you have is no fun, really. It's no fun to
Yeah.
raise a kid with a husband that's on the road for 3, 5, 14, 19 days at a time, and then have to come. I think the hardest part for me was navigating the reintegration of you back into the house. And then as soon as that reintegration happened, it felt like it was time for you to go again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I know.
it was that constant, like, find this rhythm of just me and G, and then find the rhythm with the three of us, and then find the rhythm with just G and me, and then find the rhythm with the three of us. And that's hard.
Yeah. And I don't think it was fair to you, to the son. I couldn't have known this till I knew this, but I don't think it was fair to you to have the investment and the commitment and the together and the partnership, and then that's pulled away, and now I have a new partner, my job. Now I did, I remember you calling my job the other woman one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, listen, I don't cheat, and you said you don't need to. I mean, it was a great line, right? Because there's a partnership with parents, to widen this out for anybody listening who is a parent. All of us had parents, or we're supposed to. As the parent that you are, what do you do now that's different? I mean, you were alone for a lot, raising a boy on your own while your husband's gone. Your husband doesn't live with you anymore. We don't live together. What's different now? What's the Julee technique now for raising a child who's older, smarter, faster, quicker? I don't know, harder to watch, easier to manage. What's going on now between single mom raising Grayson and single mom raising Grayson? You know what I mean?
I, you know what? I don't know that there is much different.
Okay.
Really, I mean, I think there was, the difference was the relief that I got when you came home from being on the road was living in the house. And the relief that I get now when you come back into town and my kid goes and stays with you is the relief I get. I think that's the difference, right? That I have to navigate is now my kid is not in my presence 100% of the time. And that's a hard one to swallow or stomach because I don't like missing out on my boy's days and what
Yeah.
happens during his day. So, as far as raising that kid, I don't know that I do much different.
Yeah. So
Try to be a
my
better
first thought,
parent.
because I have first thought wrong, and I'm insecure by nature, was I heard, Mark, nobody misses you. Nothing's changed. If you
We
had,
always
if you,
miss you.
that's a nice thing to say. I appreciate, and
We
I know
do.
you feel that way.
We do. Yeah.
I believe you and I work real hard at putting him first, not letting him run stuff. There's a difference, right?
Right.
The kid don't run the house, but I
Right.
remember when we were going. Do you think you could write a book or a novella or a cheat sheet about getting divorced? Because I think you had some
Yeah.
good skills. Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. If I'm going to ask you in a minute for a couple of things that you would
Okay.
recommend for, you take the parent side, the female side, if you want to. single or as a parent? Married with no kids or married with kids? Every answer you have is going to be right on time. But one of the things I thought we did really well early on was when we decided we were going to get divorced, we were in a house, the three of us. And I was on the road doing a lot of stuff, and you were home doing a lot of stuff. But when I came home, you stayed elsewhere. And Grayson and I stayed at the house. When I was gone, you and Grayson were at the house. He never had to move his address in the whatever period of time it took to separate, get divorced, have it completed, whatever, finalized. Was that something you'd recommend for a couple if they could do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his life got turned upside down in a matter of weeks, right? And so to limit, for me anyway, to limit the change that occurred as far as environment and structure and what's the word I'm looking for? Continuity. Him staying in the house was the best thing possible.
I'm a 12-step guy. I don't hide that from anybody. I'm in recovery myself, but I remember calling my sponsor, and you know who he is, and you know Steve and what a cantankerous, so crusty piece of work he can be. I said, "Hey man, I'm afraid." I was in tears. I'm afraid. I love my kid so much. I love my ex. We're not together anymore. I love my kid. I don't want to fuck him up. How much do you think that we fucked up that kid? Just in the process. No intention. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. What part of that do you see in him?
I don't know that I see a lot of it outwardly. But I don't know a kid who doesn't go through a divorce in one form or fashion, regardless of their age, who doesn't come out of it with scars and baggage. They're going to leave. They always leave. How do I trust? What's the next step? When does the next shoe drop? So I've had people tell me, you didn't screw your kid up when you got divorced, and I don't see it right now. But I know it's coming. I know it's there. I don't know how you escape damage in that sense.
It is a broken relationship, and no harm, no fault. Nobody's doing the blame and shame thing here. I thought we got past that pretty quickly. I thought we got past the blame and shame quickly by putting him as a focus of, we really care about him more than I care about the personal injury or the ouch or the, hey, who's to blame kind of. What would you recommend to a mother who's going through or looking at a divorce? A couple of little shortcuts for her coming from you, who's been there, who's felt that, who's been there, who's done that.
Don't get divorced. I mean, really, can you find a solution to heal the relationship so that you don't have to? That would be my suggestion. If you got to go there, it's no longer about you. For me, it was no longer about me, right? It was no longer about me when I had that boy, and it's really no longer about me. It's about making sure that my boy feels safe and loved and wanted and needed and known. And I watch it all the time, right? That women and men both use their kid as some kind of leverage or toy or bait or as a punishment, right? I'm going to keep the kid from you. I'm going to badmouth you to the kid. You don't get to see your kid unless you do this. You don't, all that kind of stuff. That for me is intolerable. Or
There's a piece of real
your
estate
days
kind
are,
of.
Absolutely. Or your days are only Mondays and Wednesdays, and so you only get to see your kid on Monday and Wednesdays. There's no deviation from the schedule. There's no freedom, to have flexibility in I can't.
Did you ever feel
won't
like
do that? Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
you haven't done that. No, that's okay. I wanted to ask you because I don't think we've ever had this specific conversation about this item, but did you ever feel like at all during the process? Because I'm really unaware of my own behavior a lot of times still.
I know.
I somebody asked me the other day, just a side note here. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, "Hey, I met your ex-wife. Wow." And I mean, that can be taken in a whole bunch of ways. Wow. It's hard not to stare at her because she's hot. She's a bright personality, master's degree in business, and super smart, and IQ off the charts, and eloquent, right? All those qualities you have. And then I said, wow, like what? And he goes, fierce, man. She's fierce. And I said, oh, you want to see fierce? Get between her and her kid just for a minute, right? And he goes, is it trouble? I go, Wolverine in a corner. That's all you need to know right there, right? So as protective as a mom can be and as you are, and I'm a helicopter dad, I overdo a lot of the, the parenting thing. I'm a needy kind of daddy at times. Like, are you okay? You okay? You okay? You okay? The joke is, remember that game? But no, what you and I get to do is parent a kid individually and as a team. If you're going to tell a mother about single mom stuff, any tips for her? Any little nugget that she doesn't have to wait 2 more years to find out?
Oh my gosh, I don't know the answer to that question. Get ready to sacrifice your life for your kid.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know a shortcut of how to do this. Every situation is different. And, for me, it was about having, I didn't let anybody into my kid's life that I didn't think was going to stay. And that includes everybody, right? It didn't matter just because you were in, from school or from church or from recovery, like that didn't qualify you to be in my kid's life. I still keep his circle really small with adults because I think part of my job is to protect him, and life is going to throw him disappointments just because that's what life does. And so my job is to not bring anybody or any situation into his world that I know could potentially be a disappointment or a hurt for him. I'm not always successful with that, but
one of the things that I get to do in group is spout off like I know something, and they take it like that or they don't. But one of the phrases I use for people like us in a situation where they're all crispy, brand new, everything, all the hurt is still real fresh, or the loss is still felt really deeply. I'll say about the kids, you can't save them from feeling. You can't save them from failing. We just can't. You come from a family that was broken early on. I mean, you grew up without a dad, basically, right? At what age?
Yeah.
What age did Dad leave?
I think I was 7.
Okay, and you and your younger sister and your mom, that was the family.
Yeah.
So we learn what we learn to protect our feelings or prevent ourselves from failing. Did mom sacrifice her life? You said that. Get ready to sacrifice your life for your kid. Did your mom do that for you?
Yeah. 100%.
Mine did too. And I was already out of the house, but there were 4 siblings younger than me, and they were all still home by the time I'd left. But mom sacrificed. I'm not only talking about my mom here, but my mom sacrificed for her kids and then blamed them every chance she got. She was the martyr, not the mother. Any of that in your house growing up?
No. Not at all.
Okay. Because I see moms do that. I see dads do that. I did this for you. You should be grateful. If you have to tell somebody that they need to be grateful for what you did, there's more than one victim there, don't you think?
Well, we walked into it with some kind of unrealistic expectation. They're kids. Kids
and
by nature aren't grateful.
Okay. How do you mean that?
I well, they're like they're the little self-centered rugrat, right? Especially when they're little and they're not grateful.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Well,
ask my
it's not their
kid,
job.
he'll tell you on quarantine, like my mom brings me breakfast, lunch, and dinner on a plate wherever I am in the house. My kid is grateful and he says thank you, but I don't think he's really all that grateful because I have set him up to expect that that's what's coming in
Yeah,
quarantine life,
that's
right? I wake him up
that's
in the
what mom
morning with a
does.
little,
Breakfast.
yeah, yeah. I don't think about it, but I let him know about it. Let me tell you, when he says, "Can I have a glass? Can
Yeah,
you bring me a glass of milk?" No, I already brought you breakfast and lunch. You can get your own milk.
yeah. Well, one of the things I'm trying to remind him about when he's with me is that
You were going to say
he
teach him,
honors his.
huh?
I was going to say teach him right there. Yeah. Well, I don't mind that word with a kid, but yeah, you know how I feel about the word teacher. Um, uh, to let everybody know, Julie's laughing a little bit. I'm sure because there's this thing she does to remind me that I ain't all that big a deal. Uh, she will remind me. I'll say something off the cuff about a belief I have. Here's what they should do for this Corona thing, and she'll go, "Oh, when you were in med school, you learned what?" Or all the time you spent as a psychiatrist in private practice, you told people what? She always knocks me right down. My legs just chopped right out from under me because I'm not an expert on anything healthy, and I couldn't stay married to a great person, and I couldn't. I have a lot of failings or ended relationships for me are personal, intimate, romantic. It's a kryptonite I have. I love my work. I love being a dad right now. But those are my two relationships, basically. I got one with the universe that's very kind. The universe is very giving and loving to me, and I got to stay in the right place to keep getting those things. But humility, it's not my strong suit, is it?
No,
No. Patience.
is so not your strong suit.
A reasonable discussion tone, a very
No,
mild delivery.
no,
Okay. I'm not moody at all,
no. Oh, no.
and I speak sarcasm.
All the time.
Do you remember? I love Julie. I love the fact that I don't have any secrets and there's no layers I got to hide myself from. I always hope our kid learns that too from his parents. That my parents they didn't battle over me, but they didn't fight each other about who they were. That's a comforting thing to me. I want to go to my grave knowing that I was the best dad that kid could have had. I mean. If we include other people in our lives, dating or church or whatever you were talking about, right? He's going to be exposed to that personality too. And that's why I get that he doesn't get exposed to anybody who's not going to be around for very long. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But one of the things I want him to learn from his mother is she's an equal all day long to everybody. Because a lot of mothers don't think they are. And their job is to be a mom. Your job is to be Julie. I know you know that. You're a whole person. How many laptops you got in front of you right now, by the way?
I just have one. The other one's
And
over there. I have two
oh,
monitors, I think is what you're looking. I have the laptop and a monitor
yeah.
to my right.
Okay. And right now you're on the clock for work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I
Well, I guess
appreciate the time.
technically it's 12 something. You could call this my lunch hour.
Well, thanks for spending it with us. The
Yeah.
millions of people who are watching. What I wanted to tell you, there was a time I remember doing a show in Northern California somewhere. It was an outdoor arena, and there were a few thousand people there. It was a Narcotics Anonymous event. I'm a member, and I don't mind saying that I'm a fan of 12 Steps. But I had done the show, and the receiving line after the show, where I was standing by the merch table, I had Mark L merchandise crap going on. You came up to me and you wanted to tell me, "Hey, I'm going to go. This isn't a fun for me right now, and all this. I'm going to go do my thing." You were at the show, but you weren't going to stay for all the drama afterwards, right? That stuff. You know what
Right.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And as you're standing there, we're shoulder to shoulder. There was a woman that came up and she said, "Oh my God," it's gushing kind of thing, and wanted to shake hands and where she saw such and such, and she looked at you and she stopped. I'll never forget this. She stopped. I'm gonna do the best impression I can. She goes, and I know what she was thinking. My God, that lady walked off a cover of a magazine. It was just stunning, right? And she stopped, and then she said, "You're his wife," and you said, "I'm Julie. Your name is?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember being so proud of the independence there. And then she goes, "It must be great living with him all the time." You did that right there. You looked at me, you looked back at her, and you said, "You have no idea." Just like that. And I knew exactly what you meant. Lady, no clue what you're talking about here, because he ain't what you're seeing, right? So between the two people that you're married to, the public person and that private person, did you feel like you ever had to be more than one person?
I don't know if I had to be more than one person. I guess technically, maybe. Just I had to remember where I was, and that those people are the reason that I got to stay at home with my kid. Because it was easy sometimes to get frustrated with that. I've already been here for 4 hours. I just want to go home, and I got another 45 minutes to wait because people want Mark L's signature or a shirt or conversation or, so that part. But I think that's part of that is just human, right? That here, just go away. Go away and let me be me, but I can't just be me because me right now is frustrated and tired and hungry and I want to go home and I want to see my kid and I can't because you're here. So, and then reining it in and going, yeah, I'm grateful. Thanks.
Yeah, and you got a little actress in you?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's necessary as we're talking about proud parenting here today. I'm biased, but I think you're a phenomenal mother. I know that you've inspired other mothers because they've told me that separately from you and I ever talking about it. There are people who would love to have access to the skills that a lot of good parents have, which are, I can put my kid first, but not always. I'm not going to be a helicopter parent if I can help it because I want to shelter them, not shield them from growing up on their own. I have an exercise that I'll do with people that are in groups or in prison where this is mom or dad, and this is the kid, and I'm protecting them. I'm like a tree. They're a sapling. I'm a tree, but they're not getting the light to grow equal. They can't because I'm in the way. I'm calling it protection, But if I back up, they grow up. So I kind of feel like we're stepping back and showing what a tall tree looks like. He gets to be a tall tree. Is there anything that you've come across since the divorce that you find as a must do? I have to make sure I remember to do this, or it's ingrained in your personality to where I do this for my kid no matter what. What are the musts for a mom?
For this mom, I must show up at every function for my kid. School, sports, church, because his dad doesn't always get to be there. So it's a non-negotiable for me to be at every single football game and every single basketball game and every single volleyball game and get there early so that if they start early, I don't miss anything. The other must is to know, and this isn't even just because we're divorced. This is just because that's who I want him to be. I want him to know that he's got all the choices in the world. But with those choices, he gets to accept the consequences, whatever those are, right? And consequences aren't always, there's this connotation behind consequence that it's negative, and that's not true. Consequence is just the result of making a decision. So
yeah, this is what happened when I did. This is what happened when I chose. Yeah.
Right.
Just yesterday, your son said to me, He goes, Dad, what are you thinking about? Because I got super quiet in the middle of a conversation. And I said, I just want to ask you a question because I think we're in a truth-telling mode most of the day. I said, I just want to ask you a question. What would you, how did I phrase this? The answer I remember, the phrasing was, he said, I said to him, I said, what are you not getting enough of from your father? You know, it's like a pulse check, right? And without blinking, he goes, Dad, I would like you to be able to do more of what other kids' dads do. And I thought, and what kid, he goes, the other kids at school, their dads wrestle with them. Their dads just play with them. Their dads just, and it broke my heart, man. I was in tears yesterday. It made me choke up a little today, just because I never saw that coming. You know, he just wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
Right. And my first thought wrong was, he's bigger than me now. You know, it might be a short fight, right? But I remember pillow fights and the little gentle biting and the gnawing like a big bear and a cub, right? We're not the bear cub thing anymore, right?
No.
But it broke my heart in that he didn't have to wait. He responded right away. He didn't know that question was coming, but he sure knew what the answer was. And that stopped my clock for a minute. So I know I'm going to wrestle with him in the next couple of days. And I am. And tell me what you were thinking.
I was thinking, please don't get hurt because this is not the time you want to be going to the hospital.
No, okay. It was me getting hurt, right? That's what you saw? Yeah. So just because there's moments that moms miss when the dad and son are together, especially on the road. He said, Dad, you know what happened last night? This was this morning. He said this. We stayed in a hotel last night because we're doing the filming. And he said, he goes, Dad, you know what happened last night? And I said, I couldn't begin to think. He goes, I dropped down to go to bed and I landed on one of my nuts. And I said, what? Are you okay? He goes, do you know that it only takes 22 pounds of pressure to crush a nut? I said, what the baby Jesus are you talking about? He goes, I looked it up. 22 pounds of pressure, you crush a nut, Dad. He goes, I think I was at about 20.
Oh, that's my kid.
And that is your kid. Part of the thing I love about him is he has no filter. Do you think that's something he was born with?
No, maybe. I think he's been given the freedom, huge freedom of language and expression and no filter having opportunities to grow that. Because I think kids are naturally born with no filter, right? Kids will tell you you're fat or your hair's messed up or why you got that thing hanging out of your nose. There's no discernment. There's no filter.
Yeah.
And I think right now it's trying to teach him when to have a filter.
Yeah, I'd like him to put that filter on when it's appropriate. I mean, he has language at the house when he's with me, and he has language at the house when he's with you. And I know as kumbaya as we can sound sometimes, there's very, very unique patterns, right, that each of us have.
True.
And he sees that. I out of the blue, unsolicited, no filter, he said one day, Dad, you know, in a way, I'm glad you and Mom aren't married anymore. And I didn't know where that was coming from. I said, how come? He goes, you have very different lifestyles, the two of you. And I know that's true. I know that's true.
Yeah.
In a confined space for any length of time. If I wasn't on the road consistently, right? If I wasn't on the road consistently when we were married, do you think we'd have stayed married 7 years?
No.
I don't either. I joke about that sometimes, as painful as this is to say to somebody I love. There was differences we couldn't have known until we knew. But
Right.
I think if I had a 9-to-5 job as a plumber and I came home at 5:30 every day and we had that stuff, that Monday through Friday existence, sometimes overtime on the weekends because somebody had an emergency, I'm a plumber. You're a mother and you have a job doing... And that's funny because
Because you have no skills when it comes to that kind of stuff. It just
because I'm so mechanical. That's what you want to say.
because it makes me giggle to think of you trying to
Yeah.
fix something.
Yeah, you
Anything.
ain't wrong at all. Okay, that was a little much, but no, you're not wrong. But if we had that regular life existence of a married couple, and then the kid comes along, I honestly don't think we would have stayed together as long as we did. It was easier to come home and be like a honeymoon time or a part-time couple, and then unplug and go somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
I remember early on in the relationship, you would a little bit. It would bother you when I was leaving again. It was like I could tell it was bothering you. You weren't always vocal about it, but after a while, it was like you would ask me, "Aren't you leaving again pretty soon? I mean, when's your plane again? When do you, there's that. Hey, I'm going to take care of you before you leave thing, and I'll drive you to the airport and say goodbye to you at the thing. And then after it was like, can you take a taxi? Can you just go?
Truth. Yeah.
So, what's next on the horizon for you today? After we finish talking today, what in the life of Julee Lundholm? What's the next 4 hours of your day look like?
The next 4 hours of my day is more work, a workout, a walk, dinner, and a Zoom call.
Okay, and Grayson's with me this weekend.
Yep.
Do you want to see him? Do you want to have dinner? Do you
Yep.
want to?
Yep.
Okay, all right. We'll make that work. The visit. I'm off and home actually in San Jose for the next 4 days. A lot of people don't know. Julie and I live about 5 miles apart. Is that what it is?
Yep.
If that, and everything else in between there belongs to Grayson. His church, his school, everything's in between that. I like that proximity to you, to him, to the stuff that's important in his life. Does it ever feel like we're far away, you and I? Like miles and miles, even when I'm not on the road?
No. I don't think so.
I don't get that sense. I don't get that sense very much either. One of the things I want to ask you about, because this is the Mark Lundholm Show, and people know me in a certain way and everything. Tell me about I'm going to make a statement, and you react the way you want to react because you're in charge. Do I ever use too many words?
Yes.
That's it right there. Did you see what happened there? No, that's perfect. That's exactly the deal. The question took way longer than the answer. You know what I mean? Do you remember? Okay,
No.
Early on, we're dating. We're dating. We're not married yet.
Oh.
Do you remember the call? I want to see the face. I can't look at you right now because I don't want to start laughing. But I'm on the road. I'm somewhere. We're dating. You're at a San Francisco Giants game. You're at a party after whatever, girlfriends or whatever like this. And I call again, and you see my number on the screen. Go ahead. What was your first thought?
Why do you want to talk again?
If I said it's because I missed you, would that make you laugh harder?
No. Maybe. I don't know. Just why?
Yeah. So as smart as you are, and as good as you are at your job, tell the people what you do.
I work for a commercial construction company doing whatever needs to be done, from contracts to job walks to, I don't know, contract. Did I say contracts? Everything. A little bit of everything except actually working in the field.
And in a male-dominated industry, can you hold your own?
I can.
Yeah. Is that something you learned a long time ago? Or is that something you learned in any other experience you've had?
No, I think it's just the nature of who I am.
Yeah.
And you can't not, well, you can, but you can't not hold your own in that one or you'll get run over. I think I kind of learned that growing up, right? I got to take care of me so that I don't get run over. The problem is I can be more aggressive than I need to be sometimes. Not so much anymore.
Okay.
I've kind of learned to.
Well, we've all grown up a little bit. I mean, I'm pretty sure. And I want to ask you this because I know you have a passion for something that's going on in the world. Can you tell people about that?
I can. It's sex trafficking of young girls, girls of all ages. About 5 years ago, I went to Cambodia to serve with an organization called Agape International Missions, and they rescue, restore, and reintegrate girls that have been sex trafficked over there. And it is a huge, huge heart thing for me. It was life changing, heart shattering, and changing, and spirit changing for me. And I've said it. My job now, right now, is to raise my boy. I'm really clear that that's my primary job. But when he goes away to college, if I got called to go work in Cambodia with those girls, I would do it.
Yeah, I know that about you too. You root for the underdog. You are a shameless constituent advocate for helping the helpless. I do 12-step stuff. You're familiar with the 12-step process in families, right?
Yeah.
I know you're big in church. Grayson goes to Christian school. I love the layers of development that we have made for that kid, and he can make his own choices when he's older. But in between now and 18, or now and when he leaves, what's the biggest struggle you have with raising a child on your own as a mom?
Feeling like I'm good enough at being his mom or giving him the firmest, strongest foundation for going out and being a good man in the world.
I if you ever want to know, you can ask a whole bunch of us who already know you're all of those things. What's the problem with most parents on the planet? And I don't want to filter here. What's the problem with most parents?
They're self-centered motherfuckers.
Do you think we're taught that? I mean, I've been that guy. I speak self-centered motherfucker. It's one of the languages I speak. I'd rather not do that. But what, are they taught that? Is it out of necessity? Is it just what society does? Is it assumed? What do you think that's from?
I don't know the answer to that. I can't imagine being that way with my boy and not doing everything I can to make his life better or give him what he needs. And don't get me wrong, there are days where I don't want to get up and take him to school, or I don't want to go early to the basketball game or whatever it is. But it's not about me, right? So I don't know the answer. I don't know if that was the example they had, so it's the example they are. I don't know if it's fear-based behavior. I don't know if it's they don't know how to do any better, or they shouldn't have had kids in the first place. I think there's a whole bunch of people that shouldn't have had kids in the first place, or don't really understand I know I didn't understand the depths of sacrifice that come with being a parent until I had a kid and I was surrounded by people who are good parents and saw the kind of sacrifice that they did. I mean, you learn how to be a parent from somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's quite a few somewheres, maybe. You can't know until you know. I've got a favorite phrase that is gentle for both of us and everybody else that wants to not beat themselves up with what we're not doing well or what we didn't know. It is what it is till it isn't.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, I can't be the dad I'm not. But once I know that I can be that dad. Now the strength is, or the weakness is, can I consistently show up and be that guy I know I can be, right? I know I can be strong when I need to. I know I can have boundaries when I have to. I know I can be faithful. I know I can be committed. I know I can be present. Every once in a while, I swear to God, Julie, I have to look him right in the eye and listen to every syllable because I want to be here right now with him listening, because I'll wander off. He's a little bit like his dad. He's a mama's boy right now, for sure. He's a little
100%.
bit like his dad. He used a lot of words, right? But it doesn't mean that I can't stay present and I really have to tell myself, be here, be here, be here. 5 seconds, come back, be here, be here. Because I'm not going to get these days with him ever again.
Right.
Do you remember when he was a little boy and he used to say this day?
Yeah.
Right? He never said today. Right? This day, Dad? And I would think, what the hell's wrong with my kid? I mean, his mom speaks English really well. She went to school and he'd say, but not this day, right, Dad? I'd go, no, buddy, not this day. I can't tell you what that's done for me since, right? Now he says today and whatever, and I'll say, how you doing? He'll go, fine. You know what he does. But this day, Mama? Yeah. The party is this day? What else do we have but this day?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Socrates in that kid, little baby Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? I got a real quick exercise, if you would. Okay, real quick
All
kind
right,
of thing.
let's go. What you got?
Okay, I'll throw out 3 words separately, and you give me your best on what those words mean to you.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Sure.
Okay. Parenting.
My boy.
Forgiveness.
Jesus.
Commitment.
Every day to my kid.
Grayson.
He's my heart.
We will do our best to pass this along in a way that works for parents out there who are proud, want to be proud, don't know what it's like to know what that means. There's no perfection here. We're not experts, but there's a lot of people that struggle with this a lot harder than we do. I don't think that's an accident, So 2 questions I ask every guest. I love you, Julie. I'm grateful for today.
I love you too.
2 questions. Thank you. I ask every guest. 5 years from now, in a perfect world, where are you and what are you doing?
I am prepping my boy to graduate from high school. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And is there any relief in that he's leaving the house by God? I hope
No.
soon.
Nope. Zero.
Yeah. Miss those feet on the stairs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And,
do. That's an interesting question, right? Because right now there are a whole bunch of kids. That's why my answer is what it is because right now kids aren't getting to graduate from high school. They're not getting to walk, or it's going to look very different than what it has looked like for a whole bunch of years in a row. And so I hope 5 years from now, when you're talking April and they graduate at the end of May, I hope that's what I'm doing is supporting my kid through whatever that process looks like.
Yeah, that's that would be a perfect world. I mean, no matter what else is going on. And last question. We always do for the guest shameless plug. What do you got?
JulieLundholm.arbonne.com. Yeah.
And Arbonne is?
Arbonne is a vegan health and wellness company that has health products, skin products, makeup products, all kinds of stuff. Skincare, body care, hair care. face care, nutrition, all clean and vegan and amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. And that email we'll put on the screen. I love you. Thanks for your time. And your boy will call you in a few.
Okay. Thanks, Daddy.
Okay. Love you.
All right.
See ya.
Love you. Ciao. Bye.
I'm running hot and I'm giving all that I got. Where's my parade?
Just a little bit of a closing note here. I think it's show, don't tell. Parenting is like acting. Show me, don't tell me. I had a director, Bob Balaban. I did a one-man show off Broadway in New York. Bob Balaban was the director. He used to say to me all the time, listen, I know what the script says. Don't tell me what you're saying. I want to know why you're saying what you're saying. Well, a lot of times the director, the kid, wants to know why. So, show, don't tell. I show my kids as an example. I don't tell them what to do without backing it up with action. That's helped me a lot along the way, no matter how old they get. That's the way it works. Show, don't tell. Okay, thanks for sticking around today. I'm signing off as usual with hashtag be first. Joy, love, hope, forgiveness, fun. If you don't see some, be some. Thanks for checking us out. Later.